Welcome back guys on my YouTube channel. Today I'm here with the Fantic 2025 models. You might ask yourself what has changed? Well, in 2025 the new 250 motocross bike has been completely revolutionized. Now the bike has a renewed engine, a completely different chassis. The bike is slimmer of 5 centimeters and that makes a huge difference when riding. We have new electronics, work on the airbox is done so that you get less noise. And all in all, if I have to compare it with last year's model, the bike has improved a lot easier to ride both frame-wise but also engine-wise. But I know that you're not here to listen me speak about this bike, you're here to know about the Enduro models. The Enduro models haven't changed much. The 125cc now has bigger radiators and you have 35% better cooling. This goes and influences also the performance of the engine, so we have a bit better performance. We have here the 300 two-stroke injection. To me, this is a wonderful bike. It was introduced last year, and this year the upgrades that it has are the same upgrades that all the Enduro range has. So we can start from the front mudguard. Seems like a small detail, but I was riding the past models and I own a Fantic EF 450 Enduro bike. The old front fender would flap around everywhere. It was too light, and as soon as you had some dirt, it was just flapping around, and it would also distract you when riding. Now we have a totally different design. It's wider here in the front part. This makes it better for when you're riding in mud conditions because you have better protection, and also it's much more rigid, so it doesn't start flapping all over around like you usually do when you get out of the shower, that you just play around and slap it everywhere. Last but not least, I like this design. I believe this has improved. Speaking of design, we have new radiator shrouds, another detail that seems minor, but compared to last year's model, many riders would complain that in this section they would catch with their knee braces. So now we have a flatter and bigger surface, and when you're riding, I can tell you, you feel the difference that when you're standing up, you reach the turn and you need to slide with your legs to the front. The ergonomics are really good. On the 125cc we have a new fuel tank that holds 9 liters. Here we have the cap for the oil for the fuel injection. The exhaust has been changed in order to be compliant with the FIM rules. And just to give you some details, Fantic currently with the 125cc is the most sold 125cc Enduro bike in all Europe. And in Italy, it's the 3rd bike most sold of all the bikes of all the capacities. Very interesting detail because Fantic is having huge success in racing. In the last years, they've won 35 championships between national and international championship. They are currently dominating the youth. They won last weekend the World Championship with the Kevin Cristino, and in the motocross they're 1st and 2nd in the European Championship. Other upgrade that many enduro riders will love is the hydraulic clutch. Personally, I prefer for rallies the cable clutch. I know it's weird, but because when you're in the dunes, the cable clutch, you can feel it when you're using it a bit too much, and you know you're like fucking up your clutch. With the hydraulic, once you realize it's too late, but on the other hand, it gets you much less tired, and also where it pulls, it's always in the same position, whereas the cable clutch, depending, you know, on how hot it is, where you pull it and leave it and feel, you know, that sweet spot can be different. In my opinion, having tested the whole range, so 9 different bikes, my preferred 4-stroke Enduro bike was the 310, because I believe you have that much more engine than the 250 that you want, especially if you're heavy like me, that I'm over 100 kilos. It has more pull in acceleration when you're exiting the turns, but at the same time it doesn't get you tired like the 450, and the feeling you have when riding it is not of having the weight of the 450. So much more manageable. The only thing, it still has the old frame, because you know Fantic shared the same frame and engine components as Yamaha, so the 310 and also the 450 for 2025 still has the 2023 Yamaha frame. This can be a good or a bad thing depending on what's your preference. I personally preferred a lot more the new frame on the motocross bikes, because having the bike slimmer made it so much easier in the turns, so probably next year that's what we'll see as a big news. But if I had to choose a bike, of all the bikes that I enjoyed most was the 300 two-stroke. I was expecting this bike to be too much reactive, and not have a great stability, but in reality this is what shocked me most of this bike. I had a huge stability of the front end, especially in conditions like today where it's raining and you had some very slippery spots entering turn. Sometimes I would lose the traction looking at the berm in order to make the bike slide on the berm, and the bike would never give any strange reaction, like it would just slid with both wheels and let me go onto the berm. For me, this is something very rare to find, for example, on 250, 300cc two-stroke bikes, but on the 300 Fantic you had much more stability compared to the 125cc Fantic. Together with this, the engine performance has been varied because big work has been done on the electronics. Now the bike is very easy to ride, because from the low and mid RPMs is the section of the map where they have worked the most, and the bike is extremely smooth when opening the throttle. It never drags you, and this gives you the possibility to have really a good grip also in slippery conditions. Furthermore, I wasn't finding myself using the gears that much, and this is really good because I could enter turns in, for example, second gear and come out, but if I enter the same turn in third gear, I would feel the bike at lower RPM, but then as soon as I'm coming out of the turn and I start opening, the bike would start revving up pretty quickly, and with just one pull of the clutch, I'd be already at full speed exiting the turn. This bike proved to be a super fun and easy bike to ride, since the feeling of lightness, you can't compare it to four strokes, but with the improved engine and with the possibility with a new switch of selecting map 1, map 2 and placing the traction control, you can really adjust the bike on your riding and on the trails you're going into. Braking wise, the Nissin brakes do a good job. These are the same that were on the bike last year, but I want to spend a few words on some components that were already present but that perform really well. And other than the brakes, that's the suspensions. As I mentioned, I'm a pretty heavy guy. Riding the 300 two-stroke, even on the motocross track, hitting the jumps, I would hardly bottom out. Okay, this track was nice and smooth, we didn't have those much bumps, but I felt that being OEM, the level of the KYB at the moment in the market is a bit higher than all the other suspension brands, because what makes the big difference is not the first part of the travel, it's the end part and dampening. And I feel that the Kayaba has really good bottom end dampening. This gives you also the chance to go on enduro trails and impact much faster on obstacles than having a softer suspension. Between the motocross and the enduro range, you clearly feel the difference, but I actually was getting less tired with the enduro bikes and the motocross track than the motocross bike. I then always get asked if the Fantic 300 two-stroke injection will come to the US. I don't know about that, but I can tell you that these bikes can be purchased and shipped to the US. The thing is then getting it road legal, street legal, that I don't know. But personally, when I do my rally builds, I get orders from all over the world, so I ship bikes all over the world, and don't ask me how. For now, all my clients were able to get it in some way, the bike registered. I believe that the Fantic 300 two-stroke in the US would become really popular, because it's just that bike where you don't need a lot of servicing, it's cheap to maintain, spare parts are not that expensive, and having the oil reservoir doesn't mean that we always have to make calculations to put oil in our fuel. It does it automatically. The electronics put you in the position to really adjust also the throttle response to your need. All in all, a great bike, also because remember, frame and engine come from Yamaha. This means quality and reliability. Well guys, now it's starting to pour rain. Let me know down in the comments what you think about these bikes. If you have any questions, because clearly I surely didn't cover every aspect, every model, please leave it in the comments. I'll try to reply to all of you. Be sure to subscribe and follow me on Instagram to know and have live content when I'm at these press launches, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!